I'm here with my friend Mark Tamsula. For this session, we're going to play several fiddle tunes and in several different keys, and I'm going to illustrate some different bass lines that you can try. The first tune we're going to play is Sara Armstrong's Old Reel in the key of D, and I'm going to be playing a bass line that's going to be a series of open notes on D, G, and A. As we spoke about in some other videos, that would be the 1 chord, the 4, and the 5 chord. And I'm going to be using open strings as well as some fretted strings, so you see the combination of keeping it simple, playing unison notes, as well as going between the 1 and the 5 of each chord. But mostly I'm going to be playing in open strings without fretting, and then later on you'll see that I do a little bit of fretting up the neck. Okay, here we go. Sara Armstrong's Old Reel in the key of D. For the second tune, Mark and I are going to play a version of Luther Strong's Give the Fiddler a Dram. This tune is being played in the key of G, although there are other versions of it that are played in A. But for this one, we'll play it in the key of G. And the interesting thing about this tune is that we go from the G chord in the B part down to the F chord, which is actually the 7th note of a G scale, actually a G modal scale, because normally we would be playing an F sharp. So the chords that I'm going to be playing here are G and focusing on those root notes. So I'll be playing a G alternating with the 5th of that scale, or a D note, so fretting here, and an open D on the D string, and alternating up to the high G and down again. That's the open G string, the first string down to the D. Then I'm also playing the 4 chord on C over to the G. These are fretted notes. The C note is on the A string, and then I'm playing the 5th above, or the G note, on the D string. So I'm playing, essentially, I'm going to be focusing on alternating between the 1st and 5th notes of each chord and trying to keep it simple, so you can hear a bass line that's basically moving here on 1 to 4 to chord, or D, which is your open D on your D string, to an A on the G string, which is fretted, or possibly going to the low open A. That's in the A part, but I'm also going to be going from a G to an F, which we haven't talked about in previous sessions. And the 7 chord, or an F natural in this case, because this tune is got a modal field, I'm going to be either doing the same shape on the G string to a C note, or the lower C here. Back here to the G chord. So this is references our discussion of shapes, chord shapes, that we can actually move that position down and play that same shape and find that shape similarly from a G down to an F on the lowest string, on the E string. And moving, as I play each chord, between a 1 and a 5 in terms of an F scale. So it's F to the 5th of that scale, which is a C, up to the octave, and then moving that whole shape up 1 step to a G. So that gives you at least a little bit of a flavor of what I'm doing, moving between a G chord, a C chord, a D chord, and then in the B part, I'm going from a G to an F. So let's play it for you, and you'll get a little feel for how this bass line is played on Luther Strong's Give the Fiddler a Dram. Thanks, Mark. That you'll notice I was playing quite a bit repeated notes. So I was playing as well as I was alternating between that 1 and 5 step in each chord, as I had explained earlier, like this type of bass line. That's on G to C, and then I was going G down to F, alternating with the C note for my F chord. So playing a combination of repeated notes that match the fiddle melody, and what I'm hearing are the notes that he's playing and the chords that he's playing. In later sessions, I hope to present some more video that will look more at different bass lines that you can play based on what you're hearing in the melodic line. But that's all we'll do on this one for today. Mark and I are now going to play a tune called Dunbar in the key of C. And in this tune, you'll notice that I'm playing a combination of patterns that are moving from the first and the fifth note of each chord. So the basic chords I'm playing are your 1, 4, 5 that we played in Sara Armstrong's old reel, and you'll find in a lot of fiddle tunes in different regional music. So I will be playing and showing you bass lines that follow that basic pattern, but I'm going to just introduce a couple of walking bass lines, or bass lines that are moving where I'm following each note of a scale. And this is just to give you an idea of what it's like when you change up the patterns. I'm listening to the fiddle melody, and so my chords are going to be moving along that 1, 4, 5 chordal pattern, but I'm going to change up what the bass part is to do a combination of the 1 and 5, sticking more, focusing on the root. And then as I move between those chords, I'm going to use a scale to bring me to the next chord. Okay, that's enough talking. Let's try this, Mark. So Mark Tamsula on fiddle. Let's try it. Dunbar in the key of C. For our last tune, Mark Tamsula and I are going to play the Saratoga Hornpipe, and this is in the key of A, and I'm going to be relying a lot on open strings. There are a lot of fiddle tunes in old-time music that are in the key of A, and for a new bass player, that gives us the opportunity to play along and support the harmony and such by using primarily open strings. So the three main chords are an A chord, and I'm going to be alternating between my A string, the low E string, and doing that rocking horse kind of bass line, as well as playing on the D string fretting an E note. So having that octave movement, but essentially staying right here on the fingerboard if I'm going to fret anything, and otherwise just playing open strings. I'll be playing a combination of that 1-5 pattern on the A string, open strings for the D chord, playing a D to an A, low A, or possibly playing on the G string, fretting an A. But those are mostly what I'd be playing, just moving it up a string. And then finally, the 5 chord, I'll be playing a low E to a fretted B, which is the 5th note in an E major scale, and that's the 5 chord. So Saratoga Hornpipe, 3 chords, primarily the bass line will be, I'm just going to keep it either open, where I'm not using my fingers at all, or just a couple of fretted notes on the fingerboard. And I could make it more complicated, but this is something you could do easily on an A tune, relying on your open strings and laying down a really solid rhythmic and harmonic foundation. Mark, thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah, welcome.
And here's Saratoga Hornpipe in the key of A.